Welcome to the Unraveling the Scriptures channel. Many believe that Abraham is undoubtedly the patriarch of the Hebrews, and to some extent, they are correct. However, the true father of the Hebrews is Eber, an ancient ancestor of the patriarch Abraham, from the lineage of Shem. But few are aware of this hidden truth, which is deeply intertwined with the history of the Habiru, a mysterious group that inhabited the ancient land of Egypt. In this video, we will delve deeper into who Eber was and uncover the intriguing connections between the Habiru and the Hebrews, his descendants. Could it be that the Habiru were, in fact, the Hebrews? What secrets might this connection reveal about the roots of the Hebrew people? Stay tuned until the end, and all these questions will be answered. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and share this content with those who, like you, are fascinated by the mysteries of ancient history. Habiru and Hebrews, the hidden truth of Eber, the true father of the Hebrews. Eber, whose name in Hebrew Phoenician is Eber and in Arabic is Eber, was an ancestral figure for several ancient nations. He is not only considered the ancestor of the Hebrews but also of the Ishmaelites, Midianites, Israelites, Edomites, Ammonites, Moabites, and even the ancient Sabaeans and other peoples of southern Arabia. A direct descendant of Shem, son of Noah, Eber was the great-grandson of Shem and the father of Peleg. At 34 years old, Eber also became the father of Joktan. He was the son of Shelah, a distant ancestor of Abraham, as narrated in the Hebrew and Aramaic scriptures. The most intriguing fact about Eber is his longevity. According to biblical tradition, he lived for an impressive 464 years, carrying in his story the connection to numerous civilizations. This longevity, along with his connection to so many cultures, raises questions about the mysteries surrounding his life and his influence on the formation of ancient peoples. The name Eber has a fascinating linguistic root, with the triliteral br deeply connected to the concept of crossing and beyond. This meaning refers to the idea of someone who crosses boundaries, both physical and symbolic. In line with this idea, many names associated with the descendants of Shem, son of Noah, also reference geographical regions, suggesting that the name Eber could be related to a specific area, perhaps near ancient Assyria. Medieval scholars such as Michael the Syrian, Bar Hebraeus, and Agapius of Hierapolis highlighted that the dominant view was that the name Hebrews, Irium, derived from the letters br of Eber, reinforcing the connection between the name and the concept of crossing. On the other hand, some scholars believe that the term Hebrew or Hebraic means those who cross, a clear reference to the ancestors who crossed the Euphrates River, such as Abraham, who migrated from Ur of the Chaldeans to Haran, and later to the land of Canaan. An interesting fact that few people know is that the term Hebrew language was not the original name for the language we now call Hebrew. In ancient records and in academic and biblical contexts, this language was referred to as the language of Canaan, Jewish, or Yahudit. Interestingly, Hebrew, as we know it today, was previously referred to as Phoenician or the language of Canaan, reflecting its origins in the region and its connection with other Semitic peoples of the time. In the Islamic context, Eber is mentioned in classical texts as the ancestor of the original Arabs, known as Arab al-Riba, who are believed to have inhabited the Arabian Peninsula after the flood. Additionally, in some Islamic traditions, Eber is associated with the prophet Hud, an important figure in the Quran, which has a surah dedicated to him. This identification of Eber with Hud adds an extra layer of meaning to his figure, connecting him to both Judaism and Islam and reinforcing his significance in the history of Abrahamic religions. This detail about the language and about Eber demonstrates how the history of words and ancestral figures can vary widely between cultures, creating unexpected and lesser-known connections between seemingly distant peoples and traditions. In the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 1, verse 18 and onward, we read, "And Arphaxad begot Shelah, and Shelah begot Eber. And to Eber were born 2 sons, the name of one was Peleg, because in his days the earth was divided, and the name of his brother was Joktan." From these 2 sons, Peleg and Joktan, came 2 important lineages, from which many ancient Hebrew tribes descended. Despite having the same ancestor, Eber, these tribes developed independently. Interestingly, Joktan was the ancestor of various peoples of southern Arabia, such as the people of Sheba, who formed the famous kingdom of Sheba. The Sabaeans, known for their wealth and commercial power, are considered direct descendants of Joktan and, therefore, also of Eber, creating a connection between the southern Arab peoples and the Semitic Hebrew lineage. Additionally, there is an ancient and intriguing term that reflects the ethnic complexity of that time, Habiru, or Habiru, which appears in various ancient languages such as Ugaritic, Egyptian, and Akkadian. This term was used to designate a multi-ethnic people, primarily consisting of Semitic groups that migrated from Mesopotamia. Although they were not a specific nation, the Habiru were a class of people who wandered through ancient Semitic lands, often identified as a group that transcended tribal boundaries, connecting various Semitic ethnicities. The term Habiru is mentioned in various texts from the 2nd millennium BCE throughout the Fertile Crescent, referring to a group of people with a specific social status. These individuals were described in various ways, such as rebels, fugitives, invaders, mercenaries, archers, servants, slaves, and even laborers. Some scholars suggest that Habiru or Habiru might be the original term for the Hebrews, associating it with the descendants of Eber. I will discuss this topic in more detail later. Now, regarding the etymology, the first occurrence of the term was recorded in Akkadian, in the forms Habiru or Habiru. Later discoveries in Ugaritic and Egyptian texts also used the consonants P and R. Considering the documented sound changes from Northwest Semitic to Akkadian, where the sound appears, the root of this term has been established as PR. The root of this term is proven to be PR, which basically means dust or dirt. This is generally related to the characterization of the Habiru as nomads, mercenaries, or individuals not part of established society. The morphological pattern of the word follows the Katalu structure, indicating a status or condition. Regarding the term in ancient Sumerian, the Akkadian term Habiru occasionally appears associated with the Sumerograms sagas. Akkadian dictionaries for Sumerograms added Habatu to sagas, meaning invader, leading to the suggestion that the Sumerograms were read as this word. However, the Amarna letters show the spelling sagas, while the Ugaritic letters present sagas, indicating that these Sumerograms were read as written and did not function as ideograms. The only Akkadian word fitting this spelling is sagasu, meaning barbarian. However, an Akkadian gloss for an already Akkadian word seems inadequate, and the meaning of sagasu does not correspond to the essence of the term Habiru. Therefore, the meaning of sagas should probably be sought in a Western Semitic word, such as the Aramaic sgs, which means muddy or restless. In this context, the word habatu would be better interpreted as nomad, aligning with the sense of Habiru or Habiru, representing people outside traditional society, often living on its fringes. During the time of Rim-Sin I, 1822 BCE to 1763 BCE, the Sumerians knew of a group of Aramean nomads living in southern Mesopotamia who were called sagas, meaning invaders. Now, regarding the connection between the Habiru and the biblical Hebrews, descendants of Eber, since the discovery of 2nd millennium BCE inscriptions mentioning the Habiru, various interpretations have emerged associating them with the ancient Hebrews of the Bible. Most of these interpretations were based on an etymological connection, but this association has been widely rejected by many scholars, primarily based on Egyptian sources and later discoveries such as Ugaritic and Hittite texts. There are two main barriers to establishing a connection between the Habiru and the Hebrews: linguistic and group identity. Most scholars, such as Anson Rainey and Stephen Notley, deny any significant linguistic relationship between Habiru and Hebrew, or at most admit only a mere possibility. However, this view is not yet a consensus in the academic field. Philologically, Moshe Greenberg argued that, although Habiru and Hebrew are not clearly related, such a connection is not impossible. On the other hand, Nadav Naaman was convinced that the term Hebrew derived directly from Habiru. Among Christian scholars, such as Manfred Weipert, Henry Cazelles, and Oswald Loretz, there is less resistance to accepting a relationship between Habiru and Hebrew. For them, the linguistic connection between the two terms is simpler and more acceptable. However, Loretz, despite admitting the etymological possibility, rejects any direct equivalence between Habiru and Hebrew. Regarding identity, there is a well-established academic consensus that the Habiru and Hebrews represent two distinct groups. The biblical Hebrews are identified as an ethnic group, while the Habiru constituted a much broader multi-ethnic group defined by their social status. The morphological pattern of the word Habiru follows the catalu structure, as mentioned earlier, indicating a status, in contrast to the Hebrew ethnonym pattern, which is based on the nisba structure, similar to Egyptian. The issue became more complex as scholars investigated the Habiru and the context of the Hebrews in the Bible. New analyses indicated that the Hebrew group mentioned in the Bible might be broader than just the Israelites and could possibly be more associated with the Habiru. Naaman and Yoel bin Nun highlight that the term Hebrew is generally used to describe Israelites in exceptional circumstances, such as when they are wandering, oppressed, or enslaved, fighting for their liberation. Naaman notes that all biblical references to Hebrews appear to reflect traits inherited from the image of the Habiru of the 2nd millennium BCE. Moshe Greenberg also confirms that the term Hebrew is archaic and predates the Israelite identity. Professor Albert D. Friedberg agrees, arguing that Habiru referred to a social class present in various ancient Near Eastern societies. In the texts recounting the early periods of the patriarchs and the Exodus, Hebrew seems to refer to a broader group of people in the Levant, similar to the Habiru, of which the Israelites were a part. The descendants of Eber spread across the Middle East, and many formed their own peoples with distinct names. For example, the Israelites were Hebrews, as were the Ishmaelites, because they were all descendants of Eber. This point is crucial to understanding that the ancient Hebrews were not limited to the Israelites alone but included other Semitic groups, descendants of Eber, through his sons Peleg and Joktan. Thank you to everyone who watched the video to this point. May God bless you all, and see you soon.